Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to Shootout. Today we're going to be talking about the quite brilliant, somehow, Gareth Southgate. I say brilliant because despite people wanting him potentially to go before the last Euros, he stayed. Then we saw us absolutely get battered by Italy after doing so well for 3 minutes, and he stayed. And he's still here, and he stayed. Eunice, mate, is it time for Gareth Southgate to be gone?
Mate, I'll always quote that wise man that once said, "It's time to go. It's time to go." And I think it's pretty evident now, isn't it? If anyone thinks that he should stay, then we got to really get into the nitty gritty, as I like to say, because I don't think there's many reasons to.
I think we're going to get into the nitty gritty, but I will say one thing: like a semi-final of a World Cup is really good for England, considering what we've been used to. That's great. A final of the Euros, and then for me, it was the final nail in the coffin was the way that we lined up against France, and then it's kind of as if that game, the game just came and it went. It kind of disappeared, and it didn't even feel like England in that tournament had got to any kind of point where, when France take the lead in that game, even when Kane steps up from the penalty, I'm thinking, are we gonna be able to win this? Like, and when he missed it, I was just like, right, well, now the reason is Southgate. We're not going to play any kind of miraculous football to come back. We're not going to step the gears up a little bit, which with these England players we could do. So I lost my faith in Southgate when Kane missed the penalty. Not even at the end of the game, when Kane missed that penalty.
Yeah, I agree, to be honest, in terms of that tournament. Yeah, that was definitely the time where I think everyone should have come to the consensus that we were just not going to win anything at that point. It's done. And that continues to go on till today. Like, that's not going to change. Since we lost to Croatia in that game where we had that free kick that was scored and we thought, oh my God, it's coming home. It's actually going to happen now. Wow, the stars are aligning. And it all just fell apart. We played a final at Wembley, against Italy. And then we throw that away. For me, that was the point for me. When we lost that final at Wembley at home, that was the point where I was like, okay, it's never going to happen with this guy. It's never. And some people are going to say, oh, it's very entitled of you guys to just think that you can just rock up and just win something. Well, realistically, I think we all believe that if we actually had a gaffer that would be able to do, to do what's required to get this England team to go out and attack, we would actually be winning trophies. So, yeah. We'll unpack all of this.
I think it's the same for both games, though, to be fair, because, the Italy one, for example, we score in the first 3 minutes. It's actually the same across all of the different losses that we've had.
Yep.
It was Croatia we scored too early, and then because of the way that Southgate likes to manage, we didn't really go and try and kill Croatia off. And we said it off air before the game started. When you think about that France-Croatia final, England would have given France a better game than Croatia did in that final. But then you go to the Euros, where we score too early again, against an Italy team who are old. They don't have the same energy and I think quality in their team that we did.
Yeah.
And then in the end, okay, it's a penalty shootout and it could have been a lottery, and then we're either looking at Southgate as like a hero for winning us a major trophy, or because we lost, it just for me reflects on the way that England play football, because Southgate is the manager. Whereas you look at the players that we've got now, and I would say this is a generation that is arguably better than the golden generation was.
Exactly. And that's something I think we all believe we wouldn't think that we'd be able to say. After the golden generation, we all believed that those players really should have gone on and done much more than they actually did. When you look at players like having a Gerrard and a Lampard or a Scholes, or you had a Rooney and a Beckham and all of those guys in that wonderful England team that really should have gone on and done more. But you look at the way that this team is actually moving today, it's not just a bunch of individuals like that golden generation were that just couldn't blend. This is an actual team that does have chemistry, that does have cohesion, that does have good relationship on and off the pitch. And you'd think that if they just had a little bit more freedom and a little bit more license, they could really go out and just kill teams. And I think England have demonstrated that in multiple games, like we've already just clarified. In how many examples do we have where you get the first 20-25 minutes where England look like they're going to go out and kill? And then we get that first goal, and it's all of a sudden, okay, we're going to act a little bit more reserved now. We're just going to maybe hold back. We're going to be a little bit cautious and, trample over eggs and make sure that we're just, doing things just a little lightly. When in reality, if you just continue the same momentum, I'd like to believe the England team that we've seen in multiple games that didn't go on to win anything would have actually gone on to win games 2 or 3-0. So it's turned into the manager. It's turned into what the strategy is. And we've seen it time and time again. And I think many people are tired now. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, we've just given all the examples. And in every single one of those examples, it's almost like England start off with the potential that we have. We take an early lead, we score an early goal, and then it's kind of as if it is then the way that a match unfolds is a result of what they've been told to do with a football game. A manager's job, a coach's job is to give the players, under his tuition, I guess you can say, the best kind of mixture, I'm trying to look for the word here, it's just not coming, the best recipe to see something out, to win a game of football, whatever. And I think what you touched upon was the atmosphere that England seem to have now within those players. There's the famous interview where I think it was Rio Ferdinand was talking with Lampard potentially about why those England players didn't necessarily win anything is because the club rivalries at that point were just so strong that when it came to the England camp, the dressing room, it was like you've got United guys, you've got your Liverpool guys, Chelsea guys, Arsenal guys, whatever, and it was never together. Whereas I think if there was one thing that we can say Southgate has done a really good job with, it's kind of managing that side of things, where it's like, okay, well now we've got a different crop of players. What can I do with these guys? Clearly on the football pitch, there's something severely missing, which is why I also think Southgate needs to go now, before it's too late. Because you can say, well, it's the FA, they're going to give him another Euros. We've done really well up until this point. Yeah, but what does really well mean? We lost in the flipping quarterfinals of the last World Cup. That's not very good compared to, I don't think that France team was as good as it was when they won it. So England should do better. So is it now a case of being like, all right, well, cheers, Gareth. You've managed to put these boys together. Now let's actually take a proper football manager who can actually get England to kill teams off, to have a bit more of a killer instinct about them, and take us into the next major tournament. Does it have to be now that he gets sacked? I think it does.
100%, because look, and if this was a few tournaments ago, I'd understand keeping him on. Keeping him on when we did make the semi-final of the World Cup, and you're thinking, maybe just one more opportunity and he'd be able to take us even further. Got to the Euros, got to the final, and you think, oh man, he's got us to the final. Oh, man, we've just about lost it on penalties, and you think, okay, maybe one more. We go to the World Cup, we get eliminated in the quarter-final. That's it. We've seen countless examples of countries across the world that get to this sort of stage and they go, all right, we're going to have to part ways. That's it. And it's not even just the federations making the decisions. Sometimes it's the manager that goes, okay, look, clearly I can't take this team any further. I'm going to step aside now. Bring in the next guy. How many resignations did we see after the World Cup? After every single competition that comes across, you're going to see national team managers leave because they know that that's as far as they can take them. Or the federation realizes, okay, we're going to have to make a change. It's only England that persists when we're not actually doing what we need to do. So
let's try and think about it from the FA's perspective, though. Is it a case of Southgate is just their yes man, where it's just there's a good image, I guess, around Southgate. He speaks to the media relatively well. It keeps England out of any kind of potential weird conversation about the way that we run things, whatever. But it's kind of are the FA just simply worried that as a result of changing something that has been in place for so long, it can disrupt things before Germany next year? Because as much as I don't agree with that at all, he's not like he gets to work with the players every week. It's not like he's going into the changing rooms in the training ground at St George's Park every single week, because we've got international breaks for a reason. He gets to speak to the boys every couple of months in person. So I don't really think there's any kind of atmosphere that can be preserved by keeping him in. And I think when you think about a manager who could come in potentially, before we go into who could take over, because as much as you might want to fire someone, you've also got to have people lined up. I've got 2 names written down here that I'm actually pretty gassed on. But the first thing is how In 2023, can Harry Maguire be starting for England? Like,
Mate.
to me, this in itself is a sackable offence. When you've got Levi Colwill, an unused substitute, Fikayo Tomori, even Lewis Dunk
Yep.
should be dunking on Harry Maguire right now. Like, this guy does not belong anywhere near a Premier League team, let alone a flipping England team.
So this is exactly the point. This is another trigger, I think, because you can look at Gareth Southgate in terms of results, accomplishment, how far he's taken the team. But that's one side of it. The other side is exactly this point. And for me, this is the biggest trigger. Because sometimes you get to certain stages of a tournament and you can only hit a certain level, you get eliminated. It can happen, I guess, right? But when you're making decisions like this, I'm sorry, but for me, yeah, that's sackable. How can Harry Maguire be in a starting 11 against Ukraine when he's not playing for his club? He's not playing for United. He's been dropped. He's barely got any minutes. And the minutes that he has got, he's been liable for some mistakes immediately. All of a sudden, he's in the starting 11 and he plays the full 90. When you got actual centre-backs playing for their
with
clubs.
Maddison on the left. What is Maddison doing on the left? Like,
Or Bellingham.
If you're going to play a 4-3-3, play flipping Rashford on the left wing, where he actually likes to and wants to play. And then if things aren't working out with that, then you bring Maddison on in the role that he's actually doing well with. But I think Postecoglou would have been an amazing option for an England manager if he hadn't gone to bloody Spurs.
I wouldn't be against that, right? Especially seeing the way that he's been managing. I think that's correct. I think not just that. Even in terms of the way that Bellingham was utilised, being able to just Henderson's another one. Just throw Henderson in because he has to, and no matter what, he's got to play. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And it's these little things that I think many people now believe hold the England team back. As much as some might want to say, but Maguire plays well in an England shirt. I'm sorry, but no, he doesn't deserve to play. Simple as that. He's holding others back. Not him. Gareth Southgate's shoehorning him into the team. That's holding others back that do deserve to play and could actually end up being much better and helping the England team in order to get themselves to a level where they should be. I think it's that's down on Gareth Southgate. And for that reason alone, he takes that mentality into a tournament. We ain't going to win anything. So this is why I'm saying it's best to make the change. Make the change. That way we actually give ourselves some sort of a chance. Because we go to Euro 2024 like this, we ain't winning anything.
Yeah, and I also think there is a manager who is reportedly on the verge of a big breakdown at a certain European giant who could quite easily go and take over the German national team because they have just sacked Hansi Flick, just to show how the big countries, they're brutal. Germany have been woeful. Probably because they got players like Kai Havertz playing. I get that. But, we're all aware of this. We're all Chelsea fans. But Thomas Tuchel is an incredible tournament manager. He is a manager who has literally walked into clubs and then within knockout football, taken a team that were just on the brink of disaster and won them the Champions League. Thomas Tuchel could take over from Gareth Southgate before the next international break. I think whenever things go wrong with Tuchel, it ends up with him being sacked or leaving. And I think with Bayern, as much as they've not had the worst start to the season, if you start falling out with the president or whatever it is of that club, things might change. Get Thomas Tuchel through the door now. And if you don't get Thomas Tuchel, I'll throw my other name into the hat here as well. Bielsa.
Wow. I wasn't expecting that, I'm not going to lie.
Because you've got the kind of players now that Bielsa is, as much as he might be 68 years old or whatever it is, he just seems to get players playing football, quick football. England have got such a better team than Leeds United do. And it's not like you're talking again about a manager who's got to be around these blokes every single day. He's got to be around them 3 or 4 times a year. The way that this man sees football, as much as you might think it's not very good, I don't think it works in the Premier League, I don't. I think we saw that at Leeds and he's not there anymore. But for an England side that just have all of these ingredients to just be such a brilliant, fluid team, I think Bielsa could get them, I don't want to say the C word, the cooking word, because I think it's overdone and it's just triggering me a lot recently. But I think he could actually make us into a pasta bake, mate. A really tasty one at that.
Or an Argentinian barbecue. I think
Yeah, exactly.
you know what, Bielsa. The one issue I think that could be a problem with Bielsa is just a language barrier. Because he can't speak a word of English. We established that at Leeds, and if you're playing if you're managing a Premier League team, you have at least some players that will probably speak Spanish or speak another sort of language, or you manage to find your way. In the England team, let's be honest, I don't think anyone can say anything else than bonjour in another foreign language. So I think we're stuck there. That could be the one issue, having someone that does not speak. We saw that with Capello. Capello's a good manager, but we could see that even he was struggling just in terms of the language barrier. I think that's important. So, for me, that's the one issue. In terms of Bielsa as a manager, though, absolutely. I think tactically he's definitely got a way of being able to get players to play and have a certain freedom in terms of the way that they attack. And this England team needs that. This England team doesn't need to be so reserved. I feel like they can defend well. It's just a case of being able to allow the attack to just flourish and just go and do your thing. Because if we do that, I do think we got goals in us, and sometimes we get restricted of that. So, an attacking-minded manager, for sure.
We've just got to have that freedom, man. Like, think about it.
Yeah.
Saka, Harry Kane. Like, there's 2 more tournaments where Kane can be a winner for us. I know that he's a bit of a serial bottler with everything he does, but still, he is still such a quality attacker, a striker. So you just have like Maddison playing the way he is now, Phil Foden not on the flipping bench, Bellingham in a kind of role that he's doing at Real Madrid, seeing him score more goals than he's playing flipping games. Saka, who I think could be a Ballon d'Or winner one day. Like, bro, it's just so irritating because whenever I think and talk about England, I just have these flashbacks to the disappointment of when we get knocked out, and knowing that every time in the last 3 times that I've watched England in a major tournament where I've actually think we could go and win, it's been we're being knocked out because of the way that we've managed an entire game. Not because we've been beaten by a team that are significantly better than us, or we've been beaten, well, Tchouaméni's goal was fabulous. So we are beaten by individual moments, but we're actually beaten by the fact that as an actual unit and a team, we don't manage football matches the way that we have the players to be able to do so. And I think England could go and do what the Brazil of old used to do, which is if you score 3, we'll score 4. Why can't we be that team?
Well, exactly. And that's the characteristic this England team possesses, is that we can go out and kill. We might end up conceding a couple, but we can go out and kill, and we can get ourselves to a point where we are literally 2 or 3-0 up. First half, we do have that capability, but we restrict ourselves, and then we allow the opposition to get back into the game. We start to get ourselves into our own heads, and then we end up conceding or we end up bottling it at the latter stages of a game. It happens all the time, and that's down to the reservation that Southgate brings on this team. It's as simple as that. So, I think an attacking-minded manager needs to come in. There were rumours, and I want to get your thoughts on this. There were rumours about a potential move for Pep. What do you think?
I mean, like, if that's the case, that is like, we should get the flipping booze out now, mate. I think we should maybe even go for something a bit stronger, because that is literally, you can't get any better than that. And I think anyone who turns around to this idea and says, oh yeah, but he's not proven it, piss off with your proven at international level rubbish. If Pep Guardiola was to become the manager of England, you're telling me that you're not confident that England can go and win a major trophy. I'm not saying that directly to you. I'm saying that to the lens of the camera. Like, it's bonkers. But, like, because also Man City would then be without the best manager in the world, which is great news for everybody in the Premier League, just the Premier League as an entity. Yeah, but you're not going to get him out of... Unless he's doing both jobs. I mean, I think the bloke is just that good. He could do both.
But he could. I mean, I think the rumour is that because post-2024... Pep might end up leaving Manchester City and just call it a day because he's done everything. Then at that point, England could move for him. And that would be, I think for his career, would be great. But it depends on what he wants to do. Because I do think he'll probably move into national team football at some point. And look, as you've said, I think a knockout artist is what England need. The ability to know exactly how to play knockout football and have the philosophy of allowing players to flourish and just have the freedom to go out and kill and score goals, because that's what this England team can do. If this England team were more capable, I would say, in defensive duties, for example, I'd be saying go and get someone like an Antonio Conte, someone that just is going to make sure that we just reserve ourselves and make sure no one concedes and we can always win every game 1-0. I do feel like that you know, if that's what the characteristics of the team has, then that's what it has. But we have the capabilities of being able to use our attacking prowess and have the players with all the flair and the talent that we have going forward in order to kill teams off and score tons of goals. So we need to be able to do that, and Southgate is not the guy to be able to do that for us, I'm afraid.
He's not. So who would you say then, because I mean you can't really, if you look at England's record here in the Euros, it's not bad. We've literally only dropped points once, and it was this game against Ukraine. So like results-wise, there's not an issue with Southgate. He gets enough wins. Like England should be qualifying for every tournament and beating.
Yeah, that's qualifying,
teams.
isn't it? Yeah.
But it's like we've got data now. We have got major tournament data from 3 major tournaments with Big Gareth in charge. Yeah. I think it's incredible that he's managed to last this long, but only for him. Like it's a great CV boost for him. And I mean, his England win percentage is incredibly high because he's playing lots of matches against San Marinos and Maltas and all these teams that you have to beat without fail.
Exactly.
But who would you put in charge then? Who would it be for you? Because I'd love England to get Tuchel, at least for like the next Euros and World Cup, because I think we'd win both.
It goes on the balance of, look, like I said, I would love an attacking minded manager, but at the same time, like I did say, a knockout artist is what England need, because sometimes in knockout football you have to play both sides of the game beautifully. You have to be able to attack and score goals, but you always have to be able to make sure that you know how to defend and not let teams through. And as much as I think Southgate relies too much on defending, he doesn't allow England to attack enough, and I feel like a Thomas Tuchel will allow England to be able to use its attacking talent, but always be a little bit conservative to make sure we're not too open. And I think Tuchel has that balance. Tuchel will definitely be a good one as far as I'm concerned. There's some people saying Graham Potter, and I feel like I can laugh at that now because I know he's available, and at one time I feel we all would have taken him. I don't know how to feel Graham Potter though, because I've got PTSD. I feel like he's a good coach, and maybe for an England team, maybe for a national team, it's a possibility it could work, but I've got PTSD and I don't want to take that risk. Pep would be the jackpot.
That would be nice. Potter, I could see it, but Pep's my choice.
In terms of who's available right now, it's actually difficult. I'll be honest. In terms of like just trying to pluck a name of an attacking manager who's out there that can take this England team forward, I feel like everyone's got a job now. Unless someone can do 2 roles at the same time, club and country, which is possible, then great. But in terms of someone that's just available right now, sitting on the sidelines doing absolutely nothing, I don't feel like there's anyone available. So it's a tough one, but. In terms of being able to move forward to England 2024, I feel like the best option is probably to look at someone that's in a job at the moment. Thomas Tuchel. I would have loved an Eddie Howe. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like an Eddie Howe would have done great for England. But
you know what? That could actually not be that far away. You never know.
Yeah, because he might end up moving on from Newcastle.
Fluffing up things. Yeah, maybe. Like I don't think they can. Like I think. Like you can't after what he did last year. I don't think they would sack him. But maybe they do. Maybe Newcastle become like a big club, a Chelsea-esque kind of club who are like, right, well now we're in the Champions League. We better not be flipping leaving it because Eddie Howe can't get us to win a football game. So out the door, mate. We'll get someone else in. Simeone will go there at one point. I promise you that now. Diego Simeone will manage Newcastle in the next 3 years. Promise.
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
So who knows? I think the weird thing is there isn't actually anybody I'm confident can walk through the door tomorrow if Southgate goes today. But I want Southgate gone today because I just think I don't really get that excited about watching England in the qualifiers. I watch because it's England and it's my country, but I don't get excited about it because I know what we're going to see. It would be nice to have like the excitement to watch England because we played good football. And having been knocked out of 3 major competitions, where I think we should have beaten every single one of the 3 teams that we lost to in those individual games. For that reason, Southgate's got to go. But who could it be? Let us know in the comments below. Have you got any final words, Eunice? Because I think I'm done with Gareth now, and I'm done with this video.
I do want to say, for a little caveat, because I feel like there was probably a missed opportunity a few years ago. I do want to mention it because I feel like it's a good topic, I think, to end and maybe stick in the comments. I think England could have done pretty well with Arsene Wenger at one time. I felt like that could have worked pretty nicely.
What a shout from you. What a shout.
Yeah. And we've missed that boat.
Shout.
We've missed that. He's working at FIFA now and he's doing all sorts there, so that's not going to happen. But at one time, I felt like that really could have been a nice blend. So yeah, let us know your thoughts if you agree or disagree with that one. And who would your England shout be in terms of coming in to replace Gareth Southgate? Let us know down below.